think we start, okay.
Yep.
So I'm Curtis Steins. Here's my metal detector troubleshooting presentation. So to start off, I had, when we first had the original schematic and we hadn't even printed anything yet, on my Arduino board, there was my A4 pin was shorted to ground. I don't know if I did that while soldering or something like that, but like what I had to do is like change the cap pin from A4 to A5 when I did everything. So, and then the way I found is I was testing on the oscilloscope to figure out why it wasn't working with A4 with the original code, and then I realized because St. Dennis and I were looking at it, we kept on getting like just these weird signals, and then realized it was just short to the ground. So then I changed it over to A5 and it seemed to work fine. So, and then, actually, could you go 2 more slides real quick? So, there's like a photo of my original board. It seemed to I had actually no problems with the original board that I printed out. Now you can go back to. The only problem I had was my LED pins were just a little bit small, so I just took over the drill press and then I just kind of hammered in the LED with a hammer, so it fit in. And then, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
So then once I got into soldering, you can see I splotched it a bit. I've got flux on there and all that. And then here's a photo of, because once I originally started soldering, I found nothing was really working all that great. And so I took, because I wanted to see if there's like solder bridges, so I took an ohm meter and stuck, the black lead into the ground, like just the normal board, because this is all ground, and then just stuck it to the pins and kind of found where all my shorts to ground were, all my solder bridges. So then I just kind of went over with some flux and stuff like that and got it to work. So, but then, I mean, you can tell I got a lot better at soldering from where I started to kind of where I finished, because it's really crap get there, but then once you get through it, it's a lot better. You can go ahead. And then, so I had some more trouble with the code, because I found that once I got everything together, it still wasn't working, because just like the green LED was just like constantly on, and then like just it wasn't working at all. And so I was just going through the code, and I found that what I did is I went through the code, and as you can see here, I kind of put on these like serial prints. So I went into and kind of like, because in Arduino you can like print the values of different variables as you go through the code. And so I was testing that, and I found that like the difference variable, which kind of tells like what the difference is between the capacitor when you put it over metal, was just constantly reading 0. And then I just realized, I went back to the example code and realized I had just forgotten like a whole block of code. That's why it wasn't working, but oh well. And because I also did stuff like I had it print different like exclamation point, like a pound, asterisk, like the different modes it went through for like the red, yellow, and green. I just couldn't find what was wrong with it until I found like the difference wasn't working. You can go ahead. And then I got to printing once that all worked, and then when I originally started doing the printing, I realized, because it was supposed to like fit in up, like you'd have the inductor in here, and then the board was supposed to fit in this little box, but then I realized I made like the walls too thick from what I originally did, so I just kind of flipped it upside down, just drilled it in anyway. And that seemed to work better, because even when I had the inductor in the other way, like the plastic was too thick or something like that, because it seemed to kind of interfere with that. And I also found that like when I did finally get it all together, I had to put in like spacer nuts, so that the grounds, or not the grounds, but the solder joints on the bottom wouldn't be touching anything, or it'd screw up the metal detector, the LED. So yeah. And then for a handle, I just kind of screwed in a piece of scrap I found. So, but and then I got a working video of it. So if you want to go ahead and watch the video. It's unlisted though, so you can't find it. Is there sound at all? I would really like sound. There's sound in the video.
Just pause it for this.
All right.
So it may have sound, you just have to use that button behind you.
Oh, there we go. Good
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a bit quiet. Hold on, Luke. I don't know how loud it's going to be.
So restart the video.
Okay, yeah. Put it at 1080
Chill out.
Now to demonstrate my metal detector,
turn it on first.
As you can tell, I'm listening to Mr. Roboto in the background. I thought it would be.
You can see it's red because there's no metal, but once we come over to, let's say, a hammer, it eventually becomes green. We can have various metals to test this on, like this knife, this wrench, and also even an aluminum can. But once I bring it back, it should go back to red if it wants to actually work. Come on. There we go.
Yeah, I definitely found it works better if you move it slower compared to faster. So, I mean, I could do a live demonstration while I'm here. I guess. No, you can just get out of that. And then, like if I were to test it on like some real metal, it would probably work. So.
Have you tried it with something as small as like a quarter? Or
No, but it seemed to work on your watch when it was working earlier, so I thought it would. I don't think it's gonna work on something that small. But if you wanna come over and watch it, I guess that'd be nice.
Why don't you come over here?
Oh, I didn't want to. Okay, I guess I need to.
Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can pan it over here if you want.